initially very slow, but this is still mostly Mel script. It's all Mel script actually, just using the Maya. This paint scripts tool is a Maya painting script, and you can basically call any script you want while you're painting. And my script just queries the vert, finds the adjacent faces, figures out what materials are on them, figures out what material you're painting with, and then whether you need to do a blended shader or use one you've already got, create a new one, that sort of thing.
Do you know if anyone has written one for release?
Not that I know of. I haven't done a lot of searching because I just do my own thing sometimes. I do look around other people's tools a bit, of course, but I haven't seen one that does the same thing. So for a studio that's all our own stuff within Maya, it's really handy. And you can see there's small problems where there's 3 different materials joined with dirt, grass and sand. That's just a limitation we've enforced because you want to just limit the number of texture swaps on the fly for the polygon. So you don't want to be blending 3 textures at once on the wheel. It will just, if artists use it too much, it will just grind to a halt. So you want to castrate your artists a little bit so they can't do everything to try and maintain performance on the consoles. And I've got another one, Vegetator. I'm not going to go through it. There's a lot of those sort of things on the net. But it's basically just grabbing some terrain and painting on grass and trees and that sort of thing. There's a lot of tools on high-end 3D and 3D. Sorry, I can't remember the other one. Yeah, to just paint grass. So you can just have a small library of different types of grass, trees, bushes, rocks, whatever, and just paint them over your terrain. Just Google it, you'll find plenty. Mine's just a variant of ones that are around. Collision data. All you guys out there are developers and designers, you probably may have to create collision data if you're not using Unreal or Doom style tech. So all of our polygon soup geometry has to have a collision mesh built with it. And we use our own in-house physics system. We don't use Havoc or anything like that. We've got a really clever physics guy who wrote our own physics tech in a few months. And yeah, it's really fast and it simulates a really large number of objects at a really good frame rate, even on the DS. Yeah, it runs on PS2, PSP, Wii, 360, PC and DS. The DS is a slightly reduced version with a few more limitations, purely because it's such a slow console compared to everything else. But yeah, it still goes. Most of our stuff will still work on it. And everything is just convex hulls and primitive cube spheres and cylinders. And that way you can keep the physics system really cheap and efficient and fast. And we just developed a few little math tools for very quickly creating convex hulls over a large amount of geometry. I'll show you a little example of that. The Maya at 1024 is awesome. Clank. Yeah, Clank is the name of that little physics engine. Oh, sorry?
About the previous, the vegetation paint that you were talking about,
yeah.
The grass that you made, I presume the trees and stuff like actual geometry you paint or something?
Yeah,
what about grass, like stuff like that?
Well, grass can be done in several ways. It can be a pile of geometry as well, or I know some engine but kind of paint out particles, little faces and that sort of thing. Just all billboards, but not people call them. Yes, I could be like that. We've done both ways. So this is a small piece of a level from Scooby-Doo First Frights. Just wait while Maya wakes up. Yeah, so it's just a small piece of a wharf here. I've just gotten rid of all the lighting and just left the wireframe on so you can see where the geometry is. And it's kind of complex geometry, but you want to create convex hulls over the whole lot so the physics engine's got some nice chunky meshes and big meshes that can use to generate physics for. So we just select the meshes that you want the player to be able to walk over in this case, or if it's a driving game with the race track area. And in our Clank collision text section, we just say collision. And there you go, that section there. There's all convex hulls now, so it looks a little bit messy with a little bit of overlaps and things, but normally you wouldn't just grab it and run straight that quick unless it's just a quick test. Usually the level designers go through a little bit more carefully and grab pieces of buildings and do it sort of step by step. But for initial testing, just get the game running quickly and testing the level, you could just grab the whole lot, press a button, and you'll get your data into the game for really fast turnaround. It won't be as efficient as it could be, but it will run. And often that's just as important. If you want to be able to test your art really fast, get your iteration and turnover of art and design and tweaking as quick as possible. These are just convex hulls generated from the meshes. We can also just say shrink wrap the whole object in one great big convex hull, or create bounding boxes and spheres around specific objects. If you've got a slightly funky lamppost but just a cylinder around it will do the job just fine, then it's easier to say make a cylinder around that. Entity placement is sort of the guts of a level designer's job. Placing all your enemies down and your pickups and setting up what happens when you trigger off certain things in your levers and whatnot. Again, currently it's all in Maya. We're in the process of making a new custom tool to take over what this does, but we've used this tool in every title we've done since about 2003, I think. So it survived pretty well for this many years. And I'll give you a quick rundown, but it's an input-output based mission system, which I know a lot are now. So you trigger an event which fires an output to say you play some animation or launch some particles or play a sound, that sort of thing. And it's just a whole bunch of custom entities which fire inputs and receive inputs and fire outputs to set up your missions. And all the different entities, such as your enemies and triggers and counters and timers and that sort of thing, all work on all platforms. Some may handle it slightly differently internally for performance reasons, but from the level designer's point of view, everything just goes on every platform. I'll show you a small example. Just loading up. The tool I've written for the interface for this is, it was a custom UI, but then I found Maya's level tools that came out a few years ago now, and I just modified that and sort of put into it our own functionality as well. The tool used to be called the Cool Art tool when it was first developed, and it's just kind of stuck over the years. That's why it says cat. So this is another small section of a scuba level. Bring in some textures. And all these objects in this entities group are our entities for driving the game. You can see there's, I'm not sure how many played Scooby First Frights, but it's got jump in, jump out, cooperative gameplay, a lot like the Lego Star Wars and that sort of thing. So if you're playing co-op, one player leaves, the AI needs to take over and be able to navigate the level perfectly well. So there's all these jump triggers and hints to guide the AI through the environment without having to script every single level. The designers can just say, oh, the AI probably needs to jump here and that sort of thing. Yeah, so in here, if the artist or designer, usually our level designer is doing this, wants to create an arrow trigger around there, say an arrow trigger, and it'll just create a box. Wrap it around the selection. It's just another small thing that you can put in just to speed up your day. You don't want to be creating at the origin and dragging it over and shaping it to the object. Put an arrow trigger here, and we have a thing called a combat manager which drives all the little combat scenarios. So you might say, when you enter this trigger, turn on this combat manager. So we have a middle click menu on every entity, which is context sensitive. It says, okay, on this trigger I've got these properties and these inputs and outputs. On this combat manager, I've got these entities and various inputs and outputs and references. So of course your combat manager might have different waves of enemies coming through and that sort of thing. You might say you enter this trigger, turn on combat, so we just say IO link it. So when you enter it, or it could be on exit, whichever the designer thinks is more appropriate, do one of all these things. So just activate it in this case, and it just puts a little visual link just by the use. Oops, link on it. Sorry, it just puts a little visual in. The distance is just a long way away there because of one little thing's not set up. But as you select anything in here, it'll automatically just show all the links to other objects and enemies. So you can pretty quickly get an idea of what's driving what within the mission. We didn't do a 2D schematic view of the placement, we just use it in the 3D viewport. But with a lot of connections and various things, you can set up really complex scenarios pretty quickly just with basic